It was deep in the jungle when we first heard it. A low, broken growl. It rumbled through the trees, vibrating in our chests. At first we thought it was a warning. You know those growls that mean, get away, this is my territory. But then we saw him. He was a massive Bengal tiger, almost black in the dappled light. One of his paws was clearly injured. As he moved, it left behind faint streaks of blood in the dirt. He should have been hiding, resting, keeping his wounds from getting infected and attracting even more trouble. But instead, he was moving with purpose. His striped tail lashed behind him. Then suddenly he looked straight at us. Time seemed to stop. We stared into his eyes, trying to read the story they held. For a long moment, it felt like he was looking right through us, like he was asking for something. Then, just as suddenly, he turned and began walking deeper into the trees. Every instinct told us to stay back. Following a wild, injured predator wasn't just dangerous, it was madness. But something in his eyes, a strange mix of pain and urgency, kept pulling us forward. Maybe it was the blood. Maybe it was the fact that tigers don't usually show themselves, let alone lead humans deep into the jungle. Whatever it was, we couldn't look away. The air grew thicker, heavier with each step. Tall branches closed in above us, swallowing the sunlight and turning the path into a tunnel of green. His tracks were erratic, like a wild animal that's not just hurt, but scared. Yet he never stopped glancing back, as if making sure we were still there. And that's when we noticed something odd. He wasn't leading us toward water or somewhere with tall grasses for cover, somewhere a wounded animal would normally go. Instead, he was guiding us up a narrow ridge, the kind of place no animal, especially one with a hurt paw, would choose to be. Then we saw them, two vultures circling above. The tiger stopped, his body tensed, his gaze locked on something just beyond the ridge, and suddenly it clicked. Tigers hate seeing vultures. It's their way of knowing death is near. We climbed the last few steps, scrambling over rocks and roots, and froze. Below us was a small clearing, hidden completely from view unless you stood exactly where we did. In the middle, tangled in thick vines, was a young tigress, trapped, weak, her breathing was shallow. A crude wire snare was around her hind leg, cutting deep into the flesh. The injured tiger took a step forward, his body shielding her from our sight. He had led us here to her, and as we watched, mesmerized, he nudged her again. This time she lifted her head, her eyes dull, her movements slow. She was barely hanging on. Our hearts were pounding. This wasn't a random encounter. He had risked showing himself to humans, something no wild tiger does, just to save her. But why? Was it just because she was another tiger, or was there something more to their story? Carefully, we worked our way down the ridge, never taking our eyes off the tiger. He stood back, watching every movement but never once growled. We knew we had minutes before she would lose too much blood. The vines were tough, the wire was cruelly twisted. Our hands shook as we cut it free. And then finally, as the last piece snapped, the tigress collapsed into the grass, too weak to stand. The male tiger took a step forward, nudging her gently with his head. For a second, the jungle was completely silent, as if holding its breath. Then, without a sound, he turned and nudged her again. With a final push, he helped her rise, and together they slipped into the shadows, leaving only paw prints in the dirt. We stood there for a long time, stunned. It was just a moment that the fierce, powerful tiger who had scared us with his raw strength and wild energy was now gentle, protective. Even though his own life was hanging in the balance, he had saved hers. He had taken the risk of coming so close to humans, showing us where he needed help, trusting us to understand. This wasn't just animal instinct. It was something deeper, more profound. A wild predator had sought human help and trusted us enough to lead us to what mattered most to him. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the clearing, we started our journey home. We didn't know what lay ahead for the tiger and the tigress, but we carried a piece of the jungle in our hearts, a reminder that sometimes the fiercest creatures carry the gentlest hearts. So it goes. Folks, the world's full of wild things, some scary, some beautiful, and some that make you wonder about the very essence of courage and kindness. It's easy to get caught up in the thrill of the chase, the danger of a close call, or the sheer power of nature when faced with a wild animal. But sometimes the quiet moments are what really stay with you. Those stolen glances, the weight of trust, the unspoken plea for help. When you stop and think about it, it's humbling. Who are we to stumble into such moments? What makes a wild creature, especially one as majestic and feared as a Bengal tiger, choose to trust us? Maybe it's our shared existence on this planet. Maybe it's the understanding that we're all living beings trying to survive, even if our paths are vastly different. Or maybe it's the hope that flickers in the darkest of times. Hope that someone, anyone, might lend a hand, a paw, or a heart. As for me, I'm left pondering the echoes of that fateful day in the jungle. How does one prepare for the unexpected? How does one respond when faced with the wild tapestry of life? And most importantly, how can we, as mere observers, ensure that we don't just witness, but participate in the delicate balance of the natural world? I guess the answer lies in the stories we tell ourselves about the world and the creatures that inhabit it. Do we see them as threats to be conquered, resources to be managed, or companions on a shared journey? The choice, as always, is ours. But remember, the world doesn't owe us anything, it just is. It's up to us to find meaning in its vast expanse, to seek understanding amidst the chaos, and to find beauty in the brokenness. Because sometimes the most breathtaking stories unfold not in grand theaters, but in the quiet corners of our own perception. Like the tale of the injured tiger, it's a story that touched our souls, reminding us that even in the wildest of places, compassion can bloom and survival, however fragile, can be a testament to the enduring spirit of life. So keep your eyes open, your hearts receptive, and your minds curious. The world is full of surprises, and sometimes the greatest lessons come from the most unexpected of teachers. Like a Bengal tiger with a broken paw and a heart full of courage. Until next time, explore, wonder, and above all, listen to the whispers of the wild. If you want to hear more untold stories from the wild, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on my channel, Jungle Echoes, Rescue and Mystery. The jungle never runs out of secrets, and neither do we.